Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Generally Speaking podcast. Today we are live, as always, in the podcast studio of WVHC-FM on the beautiful campus of Herkimer County Community College, and we have a particularly special episode lined up today because with us is the newest president of the college, the fifth president of Herkimer County Community College, Dr. Terri Grates Day. Dr. Day, thank you for being with us on this podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
I just want to say right at the very top, you've been doing a lot of rounds in the media that I've noticed. We've talked about some of those things, and I'm really grateful that you've decided to come here and sit with us today and talk about the college and talk about your impressions. It's really right on the tippy top of my list of questions.
Okay.
I wanted to know if you just wanted to share some general impressions of the college. You've been here in the chair for a couple months now.
Not even yet.
So we're going to need to know just a little bit about your background that
Okay.
I already know and many people already know, but you have a really unique story.
I do.
And you find yourself once again here at Herkimer.
Yes. So I grew up in Herkimer. So I am a 1989 Herkimer High School graduate. Came to HCCC and graduated from here. Then went on to SUNY Tech, which now SUNY Poly. And then life happens. You get married, you go away. I got a master's degree from the University of Maryland, a PhD from the University of Dayton. But Herkimer gave me my start. And so it's, when the job ad popped up, I thought, and the search firm contacted me, I was like, wow, I have to seriously consider this, But my dad always thought I'd be president of this college. He for whatever reason, and he didn't get to see it. So he passed in 2021. But I believe he can see it somewhere. He's looking down, and so
He saw the future.
he saw the future, and he got the last "I told you so."
Yeah.
So my career has been pretty varied. I started out doing social justice work, working for like Rape Crisis, Boys and Girls Club. I ran a school-age service program for the Army overseas. And then I got back in higher ed when we came back stateside in 2000. And I started up at Jefferson Community College up in Watertown. And so we were stationed up there at Fort Drum, and I was a coordinator of student services for them. And so that was back in the day when retention was just becoming a thing, right? That it's easier to retain than get an extra student, all the work that Vince Tinto did out at Syracuse University. And so that was my first foray into higher education, along with teaching sociology classes. So I was an instructor for sociology for quite some time. And that led to more military transfers, which led to me getting my PhD in Ohio. And then moving to Texas after that, I started as a data analyst for the University of Texas. And I thought that was something that I was going to stay in for, the long haul. But you know how higher ed is. Every time you want to go, you switch, kind of jockey around to get higher levels. And then I landed in academic affairs, and I was a special assistant to the president out in Utah, in Cedar City, Utah, at the Southern Utah University. And then I came back to Texas and was vice provost for the University of North Texas, and then COVID hit. And so,
It sure did.
Yeah, and COVID, I think, messed up everybody's lives
Yep.
in some form or fashion. And so my husband ended up getting a reduction in force from a company that he worked for 22 years.
Wow.
And so he was very fortunate, got picked up with Amazon immediately in the Nashville area, and that took us to Nashville, and that led me to Volunteer State Community College, where I was the vice president for academic affairs. So a very interesting career path. And then the search firm called about Herkimer. And I thought, because my dad had said it for so long, I thought, it's always out there, and I felt, well, you have many years. My husband said to me, well, this may be the last time in your career that this comes open. If they hire right, I only have 13 or so years left in a career.
Right.
If they hire right, this may be the last time. And I thought, well, I'm happy here in Nashville. And I thought, but what does it hurt? Throw your name in.
Sure.
So I did. And they called for the first interview. And I was like, okay, well, it's a Zoom. We'll do that, easy. Did that. we want you to come to the second interview in person. And I was like, okay, this is getting real, right? And so up to that point, I had thought, well, I'd like to retire back in the Mohawk Valley, but had never, really seriously thought of coming back until then. So I came back. My dad had been gone 4 years at that point. And so he was, I have a lot of family and friends here, but he was my main tie to the Mohawk Valley. And so came for the interview and thought, okay, it's great if I get it, great if I don't, and so the search firm, it's a whole interesting process, being in higher education. Some of these searches, it can take a very long time. And when you put SUNY in the mix, they have their process for all of this. So it's almost like double the process. And so in early June, I got a call from the search firm. If they offer you the job, are you going to take it? And I was like, oh, this is really real now.
Sure, yeah.
And so I talked over to my husband, and he's like, go for it. If that's what you want, go for it.
So really coming full circle, all the way from growing up in Herkimer, attending here, and now you're back as the president. And you've had a really circuitous journey around the country. And what a treat that is. That's one of the things I try to impress upon my students whenever the subject comes up. Travel when you can, travel when you're young, try to see the country and the world as much as you can. What have you learned from being out in the world that is useful now to you as you've come back here to Herkimer, back here to home?
Oh, so much. Everything boils down to people. I mean, things come and go, but relationships is how you get the job done and how you become a really good institution. It's building relationships with all of the constituencies, faculty, staff, students, community, because sometimes, someday, you always need help in some area, right? And so the more positive relationships you have, the easier your role is going to be.
Are people the same everywhere you go? I mean, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, we all want the same things in life, right? I mean, you want to do well, you want to have enough money to do what you want when you want. You always want your children to do better than you did. You want to leave the world a place where your children can thrive and your grandchildren, my dad's from Frankfurt, and so, a large Italian family. And so his grandparents came over here at the turn of the 20th century, wanting a better life and knowing they were probably the ones that weren't going to experience that better life. And so when they first came to America, they wouldn't even allow speaking Italian in the household because they wanted to Americanize. They wanted, because that was what they felt. My dad said he always wanted to learn Italian, but his grandpa wouldn't teach him because he said, your success depends on you Americanizing, right?
Absolutely true.
And so I am the seeds that they've sown, so many generations ago. And, to have this type of success personally, professionally, is what they came to this country for. So to me, it's amazing, to look back and think about all of these things in my life that, it was a planned course. And of course, things happen that you can't control. You just change course, you pivot, right? You do go to the next opportunity. And so, I've always said to students, take whatever opportunity comes along, especially if it's free. Even if you don't think it's in your major.
Or even if you don't think it's something you want to do right now.
Exactly, because you never know where that contact, number one, will lead to.
That's
but
true.
Also that experience, you can say, sometimes learning what you don't want to do is even better than what you think you want to do because you've ruled it out. Oh, like I never want to do that career, right? And so for me, ruling out things was just as important on my path. And so, but people are the same everywhere, and I think in every country, we all want the same things.
I think you're right, and we sometimes get hung up on the superficiality of things that look different, or maybe people sound different, but As I especially believe that here in the United States, everybody really is striving for the same sort of thing, right? So you've inherited a college with many fine attributes
I
and
have.
some important challenges. So how do you see that balance right now at the college in the year 2025 between the things that we are doing well and the things that we have and maybe where we need to go?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's energizing to, talk with all of the different folks here and where they think we need to go, where they think we should change, even with students, and definitely alumni, right? Because they have a unique experience here also. But we have many notes of pride here. We have a very caring community. Faculty and staff genuinely care about students. They want what's best for the students. I think that students want what's best for the students. We have some strong programs. We need to improve on that with our regional workforce, right? What our region demands. But I do feel a sense, and I felt that when I came for the interview, that people are at a pivotal moment where they want some change. They want some positive change. And so I think that that's exciting. I think that the opportunities, I think we can overcome them all, right? Things that we need to fix. Communication. Every higher education institution I've been at has a problem with communication because of the silos, right?
That's right.
Everyone is specialized.
That's right.
And so we look at things through the lens of our discipline first. And then deal with the fallout after that.
And how does that thing relate to the thing I'm doing all day long?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult for people to connect those dots. I think that is one of my skills, particularly with internal inconsistencies. I can see something over in one division, and then another division, and it's almost like a glaring firebomb going off that, okay, these need to be aligned together for us to move to that next point. I think that we have to increase transparency. I think that is so important to let people know these are the challenges we're facing. I need help. I'm one person. I cannot do this. I wouldn't have come back if I didn't think that I could help. But I can't do it alone, right? So that is a big thing for me. And then the community. I think we've gone through, since COVID, some challenges. Town-gown relationships have not been as strong as they were when I was here. And I think a lot of it is COVID, and then people have gone internal instead of going external. And so we really need to re-engage the community and show them what we have to offer. We have to bring back some continuing education. I mean, I've received letters, phone calls. You used to do X.
We used to have a very robust community education department, and I've heard that from a number of people as well, that we really want to try to do more of that.
And so, that's what it's all about. We are a county college and we are a community college, so we are here to serve Herkimer County. So I think that those are some of the few important things that I've noticed in my first, I think it's 7 weeks now.
You mentioned 7 weeks already. Oh my gosh. You mentioned workforce.
Yes.
And as people probably know, one of the jobs of a college president is to build and establish and maintain connections off campus with business, with industry, with local government. And so what kind of programming do you think is going to come out of those conversations that you're having with people locally about what the college should be doing and can be doing, not just in terms of community education, but of the actual academic programming?
Sure. So, workforce, most colleges pivoted about 10 to 12 years ago, going more towards career and technical education. Herkimer did not make that shift, and I believe it's because we've been seen as a transfer institution, a strong transfer institution where students will come here, they get 2 years, and then they move on to one of our other great universities in the state. And so that is something that I go to all of the Herkimer County Industrial Development Agency meetings, things like that, so I can see what's coming in the area. When I decided to take the presidency here, it was, yes, I'm going to do that job, but one of my main missions is economic growth back to Herkimer County.
Absolutely.
So, we have seen a lot of factories go. Very sad when Remington, left. Both my grandfathers worked there. My dad had worked there. I come from a very manufacturing background. And we still have a lot of great companies here. And manufacturing has changed, right?
Sure.
You know, it used to be you go into a factory and you think it's like a dirty job. You know, you're dealing with grease and dust and all that. And there's still that.
Sure.
But the technology now is so interesting. So I was just out at Giotto Enterprises is an umbrella of 7 companies in the Mohawk Valley. And one of them is fiber instrumental sales. And so they make fiber optic cable and things like that. And so I went out to do a factory tour, clean as can be.
Mm-hmm.
No dust, no, you know, anything. And yes, this is fiber optic, so it's a little bit of a different, but I think it's important for students to know that it's not the Industrial Revolution, right?
No,
I mean,
not at all. It's
no.
not coal and smokestacks.
No,
not so much.
No. And so, you know, it's a lot of it is clean energy. We have a lot of that in the Mohawk Valley. You know, the semiconductors with Micron coming in Clay in a few years, you know, we are going to need, like we have engineering technology. That is a perfect fit for Micron.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, beefing up that program, and I know we're just in the faculty or academic faculty meeting yesterday, you know, we talked about 2 micro-credentials that fit into that engineering technology. So it's really about meeting industry's need for short-term training, right? So come fall 26, Workforce Pell is going to be available for students to do short-term, you know, training. Stackable training is what people are looking at. So, you know, maybe a high school student wants to get a micro-credential over a summer or something, go work in some sort of business and industry, and while they're working there, come each semester and get a stackable certificate that your company pays for, right? Or Workforce Pell, or, you know, so there's a lot more options for students that want to go into career and technical. Obviously, healthcare, huge, right? I mean, we need to capture some more of that market. We have PTA, but what would it be like to have a respiratory care program or a med lab program? You know, these are all things that hospitals are begging for.
I'm the father of a respiratory therapist, and I'm sure she would have found that an interesting option to have when she was here.
So I think it's important to bring some of those things to Herkimer so that we can give an injection into our local hospitals and, you know, things like that with roles that they're having a hard time filling.
You mentioned town and gown a few minutes ago, which is a term that I think, I don't know if everybody knows what that means, but it sort of speaks to the relationship between a college, the gown, cap and gown, and the town that it sits in. And you and I both arrived at this campus within a year or two of each other. I might have preceded you because I'm old. But the relationship between the college then and the town that it sits in, the village of Herkimer, was very different. There was a lot more student housing downtown, and as a result of that, the students were downtown and spent their money in businesses. And as a lot of people know, that the downtown area of the village of Herkimer is on the upswing again, and there's a concerted effort to try to bring some of that business back and some of that vibrancy. So how do you see the college's role fitting into that, specifically here in the village of Herkimer?
Right. Well, it's being involved, right? And so I am a big fan of service learning. And so I would love to have a service learning day in the spring where we take all of our faculty, staff, students to go do some project somewhere in Herkimer County. You know, paint something, you know, some sort of revitalization. But as you know, we have the Downtown Revitalization Initiative that we got $10 million for. It's a good start. In these days, 10 million is a drop in a bucket.
It sounds like a lot of money, but when you're talking about a project as big as that and as expansive as that, it may not go as far as people think.
And so that's why I've been so excited to work with Jimmy Bono and John Pizek with the IDA and seeing what the process is to bring businesses back here. And it's a good mix, right? I mean, so, you know, they look at these industrial parks and bring businesses like that, or Turin Group to, you know, Remington, but they also help out mom and pop shops, right, which is very important too. And so I think it's a combination of all of them. You know, the Brownfield initiative, where getting rid of blight, you know, so important. You have to tear this stuff down. Like, companies don't want to come in and tear it down, right? Maybe they'll rebuild. They want someone else to tear it down
Absolutely.
and take care of all of the chemical contamination,
Remediation that might need to be taken care
and
of.
all of that stuff. So I
Yeah.
think that for me, that has been a really exciting aspect to start learning, that process and helping, because, when I came in for the interview, I was just crushed at downtown. In 2021, before my dad passed, we still had some stores down there. We still
Yeah.
had some stuff
Yeah.
down there. And in May 2025, there's a bar, a jeweler, the library. It's tough.
What do you think those what would be those anchor businesses that are going to help get people to come back downtown? I know that there's a couple new restaurants that have opened up
Stone
in
and
town.
Soup, Paradise Eatery. I
Yep.
think restaurants are key. In order to attract students here, we have to have those types of services.
Sure.
I mean, right now, if somebody wants to go get a pair of jeans, they can go to Walmart. That's it.
Yep.
Downtown Herkimer used to have tons of boutiques, some
Sure.
owned by HCCC professors.
I remember them well.
Yeah, like the Vogue,
Yeah, the
Mr.
Vogue.
Mason, he was an
Yeah,
accounting
yeah, Irv
professor
Mason, that's
here.
right.
Yeah.
There was Reina's, and the one right across the street, there was a women's clothing shop and a men's clothing shop. I can't remember them
Yeah, I
now.
don't remember it either.
Yeah.
We used to have Mr. Robinson, who was the guidance counselor at Herkimer High School, had something, I think it was called the Robin's Nest, which was like a little card shop, a little gift store type thing.
Yeah.
And
This
so
is even considering the fact that a lot of retail everywhere has gone online.
it's true.
But
Amazon has,
yeah, yeah, it really
gotten
has.
us, yeah.
It has, yep. And some of the big box stores have replaced a lot of the mom and pop stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right. And some of the stuff we need to do to bring people back downtown are those retail experiences, those in-person retail experiences. So this is a little bit unusual for the podcast, but I've got some students here who may have a question or two for you. Could you go ahead and tell us your name and what question you have for the president?
Hi, my name is Sean Morris. I'm a media major here at Herkimer College. So we know that most kids here normally stay only like 2 years, but where would you like to see the college in like 5 to 10 years from now?
I would like to, many things. I would like to see automation with a lot of our processes. I would like to see some new vibrant programming that will attract students, that will increase enrollment. I would like to see another 2,000 students here. It used to be we would have the parking lot, circle around, circle around, circle around. I'm not trying to go back to the glory days, but I'd like to see more of that so that we can offer more services to students. I would like to see the community engaged in coming to our lacrosse games, basketball games, any types of like those events that we have that we used to get a lot of community participation. So I would love to see that.
Thank you.
Okay, it looks like we have another question from another student.
Hi, my name is Christos Gaspirinatos. I'm a media major. My question to you is, what is the most frequently asked question or concern from students that you get?
Well, remember, I've been here 7 weeks. And not all of those students, have been here. My first few weeks, 3 weeks, there was no students on campus. So, students have not asked me too many questions. I've engaged with a lot of students. They've asked me mostly about how I like being here now. Did I miss home? Why did I come home? Things like that. But not a whole lot of questions about like our programs or anything like that. I'm usually asking the students questions every time I see them.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tari, and I'm a second year, and I wanted to know what are your plans for ensuring the college remains financially stable?
Well, we're doing a lot of things. So, the first thing is, like I said, we have a lot of manual processes. So we need to look at automating that stuff so it'll free up manpower hours. The next thing we're doing is looking at our academic program inventory. So we need to make sure that the programs we have are what students want and what the region needs as far as, job placement. And so, then we need to decide what new programs can we afford and where can we put them. As you know, as a student, a second-year student here, we don't have like an industrial setting. So like if we were going to do something that was more in the manufacturing vein, we need another location, where we could put load-bearing things and big equipment and things like that. So, we're looking at that, whether that is an HVAC program, a biomedical repair program. We just don't have the facilities here to do that. And so I'm working on building a lot of relationships. If we want to bring healthcare here, we're going to need hospitals for clinical placements. We are going to need doctor's offices for clinical placements. So while I still know quite a few people in the Valley, I've been gone 31 years. And so it's, making those connections. And so this sort of stuff doesn't happen quick, right? Because once we decide and we get the location and we get the funds, we then have to build the curriculum, get it through our state system, approval through SUNY, get it through our federal accreditor, Middle States. So, you're looking at anything that we decide to do is probably 3 to 4 years out.
Yeah. Do you have questions for any of us about the podcast or the facility or me? Did you come with any questions? Anything you wanted to ask or know about?
I'm just curious why these students chose Herkimer. I
would-
know why you chose Herkimer because I already asked you that.
Yes. Well, that was just kind of like you. There was a job offer, and I said, heck yeah. So does anybody have an answer for that? Does anybody want to go on and talk about that?
I'm Sean Morris again. I chose Herkimer because I graduated from New Hartford, New York, and it was just really close. They had a nice media program. Well, I was originally a marketing major, and then I switched like a couple weeks into a media major. But yeah, it just seemed really nice. It was super close to home, and I like it here.
And if you could change one thing here, what would it be? If you had a magic wand.
More variety in the dining hall, maybe,
Okay.
and better hours. That's
okay.
it.
Okay. And so are you living on campus then?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah. So that's all. Better hours for the dining hall, I would say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to answer those two questions?
I'm Christos Gasparinos again. Why I chose Herkimer, one, because I live here, and two, my sister Olivia and my brother Devin kind of sparked it up by suggesting it, and I was really happy to come here because it means it's another leap into my career. And that's really it.
And what would you change? One thing if you had a magic wand about the college.
To lower down the dining hall prices
Okay.
from like just at least another $5.
Yeah. It's tough, isn't it? Even if you go to McDonald's and the dollar value menu isn't the dollar value. You can't go to Taco Bell and get a taco for 79 cents
All the
anymore.
way back up here, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, are you living on campus or do you live in the community?
I live downhill.
Okay. Good for you. Well, and I have one question for you, Bob.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
curious, back in the day it was the radio and TV program. We have a lot of people out there that still ask about the radio and TV program, and now we've transitioned to something more that the market demands. What do you see the future of the new program?
Oh, of media, the communication and media program. I think more of this. I see a lot more interest among the students I talk to. They watch podcasts, they listen to podcasts of any type. We have moved from, and maybe it's something we were talking about once in a previous conversation, it felt like when I was hired here and for years and years, my job was to show people how to do X, Y, and Z. This is how it's done in the industry. And some of that's still there. But I think now, because the technology is really in the hands of just about everybody, my role has become more of a curator of content and ideas, and maybe here's the kind of thing you might want to do with those skills that I have, you have, just about everybody has. So I think it'll continue to become more and more egalitarian. I think the technology is literally in the hands of everybody. It's getting smaller and cheaper and easier to use. And everybody's a creator now, right? Everybody's a creator. Everybody's a consumer.
That must be such an odd feeling for you. I mean, after all these years of doing it the other way.
It's really strange
yeah.
thinking about the really specialized area that we used to maintain downstairs in the television studio and the television control room and protocol and language and jargon You know, a lot of that stuff's really out that window now. And even though we're working in a collaborative media environment right now, we've got students running cameras and pushing buttons even as we speak. It's really become much more of the idea of the one-man band. You know, one person can be the writer, one person can be the talent, one person can edit the thing and put it out there in their own distribution channel. And it's become a much more individualized thing. So I think that's just going to continue to happen.
Well, and I think what's so interesting is with students, so many of you all grew up with cell phones, right? I mean, and social media and all of that. And I think back to the days, you know, social media still boggles my mind. In that something had happened halfway across the world and you could know about it a minute later. Whereas before, you would have to wait for it to come out on the evening news or in the local newspaper. And sometimes you'd be looking at multiple newspapers depending on what the newspaper slant was for what you thought happened or something like that. And so it still boggles my mind.
Yeah, and so much of what I think about when I think of social media is just, you know, garbage, frankly, some of it to me. But it's important to remember the power of that media. And just what you said, almost in real time, you can watch world events unfolding and from anywhere on the globe, anywhere there's an internet connection. Somebody could be showing you something that's happening right now, and that will never cease to amaze me. I'm frankly amazed by that. And it's really in the hand of anybody with a smartphone and an internet connection.
The other thing that I have focused on as of recent is that you don't choose what you're seeing. Because, you know, you're looking at these feeds of whether it's Instagram or Facebook, and some of the stuff is, you know, programmed based on what you go look at. You know, we know that. But a lot of stuff creeps in there. And you don't have control anymore.
That's right.
Of what you see.
That's right. It's very hard to curate your social media feed and try to get it to show you stuff you want, even if you try. The algorithm may have us outfoxed and outsmarted. And let's not forget, it's a business.
Yes,
Almost
so
all of
true.
it is commerce and a business. So
true.
I tell my students, the product is not the thing you're looking at. You are the product. Your attention and your eyes and your ears, you are the commodity being traded. And that's how that business works. So
It's still wild to me.
yeah, it's so different than the way it used to be. Dr. Terri Grates Day, 5th President of Herkimer County Community College, I really want to thank you for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule to spend some time with us here. I want to thank the students who shared their questions and their ideas, and I want to thank you for watching the Generally Speaking podcast, and we'll see you again right here again very soon.